Whose history is it anyway? The victors or the vanquished? The charismatic Caesar and his inimitable exploits. We have all heard about it. Among the first colonists, it is deemed that it's his sword brought civilization to the so called barbarian world. His life, checkered and fated, fueled in many an imaginative endeavor. So, whose history is it anyway? The victors, we all know, but the vanquished, or rather the almost vanquished. Now, that's another saga altogether. And that's the saga Rene Goscinny and Albert Uderzo mesmerized generations with. The saga of the unconquerable little Gaulish village that had stood against the ravages of the mighty with a little bit of Gaulish gumption and, of course, the secret magic potion. And once, when the magic wasn't available, it was just a lot of the gumption. The very first page, the enduring image of the magnifying glass that brings to focus the Gaulish village surrounded by fortified Roman camps, stirs your curiosity gene, and from there the adventure begins. From names that are metaphorical, to situations that are full of ironical humor, to stories that are steeped in history yet modern in context, all put together in brilliant artwork and penmanship, with every frame a work of art, and with every peripheral situation given astute attention. The Asterix comics define what a true classic is all about. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geekdom Forecast. And by now, if you haven't realized it yet, it's pretty obvious what I'm going to talk about today, and that is Asterix. And Asterix has been a big part of my childhood. I'm pretty sure this comic book transcends decades and generations, and I hope you have a gala time watching this episode. The Adventures of Asterix is a French comic book series about a group of Gaulish warriors fighting the Roman Republic in the year 50 BC. The main setting for the series is an unnamed coastal village in Armorica, or province of Gaul, in the year 50 BC. Julius Caesar has conquered nearly all of Gaul for the Roman Empire, but one little village still holds out against the invaders, and this is done by gaining temporary superhuman strength by drinking a magic potion brewed by the local village druid Ketafix. The series is written by Rene Goscinny and illustrated by Albert Uderzo until Goscinny's death in the year 1977. Uderzo then took over the writing until 2009 when he sold the rights to publishing company Hachette. As of 2017, 370 million copies of Asterix books have been sold worldwide, with co-creators Rene Goscinny and Albert Uderzo being France's best-selling authors abroad. And the Asterix series have also been converted into over 100 different languages, and there have been so far 9 movies, included animated and live-action ones, and of course, the Asterix legacy will continue. Scholar Nicolas Rouvier states that the first Asterix can be seen as a remembrance of Charles de Gaulle, who was the leading figure of the resistance. He led France against Nazi Germany in World War II, and in 1959 he became the president of France. A popular opinion does prevail that Asterix comics are said to represent left wing politics or a symbol of Gallic identity. In the series, the entire village is loud, rowdy, obnoxious people who are ready to take a swing at the poor Romans and celebrate with a feast, aka the wild boar. Asterix and his buddy Obelix are always the ones ready to volunteer for any adventure whatsoever. The series is known for its long lasting impact on readers young and old. It continues to retain and attract audiences from all demographics. Marit Mutta says that the reason for Asterix comics for having such longevity is because it emphasizes on political satire and references to historical events and culture. Readers are also attracted to action adventure which is laced with cartoonish violence. All this just to oppose the Romans to show them who's the boss. After all, these Romans are crazy. In the year 1959, Albert Uderzo and René Goscinny conceptualized the character of Asterix, a Gaulish warrior for the magazine Pilot. Pilot was a newly launched venture by experienced comics writers Goscinny and Jean-Michel Charlier and artists Albert Uderzo and Jean Hebrard. Unlike Belgian competitive magazines such as Tintin, this magazine was already from the beginning more directly aimed at an adolescent audience. The writers grew up reading about Gauls in their old school textbooks as robust men with large pants, a braid, sporting a nasty looking mustache, and of course, the signature helmet. Goscinny and Uderzo wanted to parody that image into their new comic series and add some socio-political commentary, albeit in a satirical way, and of course, with a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor. Asterix himself is a stark contrast to the textbook description of Gaulish warriors. Also, in many ways, Asterix physically is not your quintessential hero. He is a short fellow who is extremely brave, uses his wits with, of course, lots and lots of magic potion to get the job done. Let's talk about what makes these Gauls invincible. What makes them the small village which still holds out against the invaders? The answer is simple. It is the magic potion brewed by the druid Ketafix. It's basically a performance enhancing drug which gives the user superhuman strength for a limited period of time. Except for Obelix, though, he fell in a cauldron full of magic potion when he was a baby, and it had a permanent effect on him. Thanks to the magic potion, Asterix and the villagers still manage to win all the battles, even if they appear to mess things up in each volume. And yes, this whole performance enhancing thing, very similar to Captain America. Asterix and the villagers just want to mind their own business. Even though they do not like the Romans, they beat them up black and blue. There's no plan for any kind of hostile takeover. Time and time again, the Romans have sorted to various ways, be it economic, yes, Mansion of the Gods and Obelix and company, I'm talking about you, or some conspiracy. Never did the Gauls ever plan a hostile takeover with the Romans. The village holds an integral part in the story of Asterix. It is their one little home, the one space for them which has not been influenced by foreign powers. As already mentioned, every adventure ends with a feast or a banquet with Cacophonix, the bard, always gagged next to his treehouse. There is one thing which even a non Asterix reader would notice is that all the fictional characters in the comic have names which are puns on their roles or personalities and which follow certain patterns specific to their nationality. Like, for example, the Gauls have an IX suffix for the men and the women have an A, for example, unhygienics, fully aromatics, and for the women we have impedimenta, Venetia, just to name a few. In the 1960s, Goscinny and Uderzo were criticized for being misogynist. The men in Asterix comics are depicted as rage fueled, whereas in the first few volumes, women were treated as secondary to almost non existent. Gradually, female characters were given more space in the stories, especially in Uderzo's work. Even though the series now include a range of female figures, from kind youngers like Panecia to someone like Impedimenta, the matriarchal wife of the village chief, they are mostly seen as docile or relegated to domestic work. However, there have been many instances where women are also ready to defend the village if necessary. It is a daunting task to pinpoint and triangulate the winning formula for Asterix's success. What's even more striking is that this comic book series has a massive appeal across Europe. Scholars have stated that Asterix may be too political or European for America's own liking. Sales figures of Asterix albums as well as reader mail published in Pilot have demonstrated that the series resonated with a vast and diverse audience comprised of children and adults alike. Asterix series is endless. Satellites were named, Asterix animated films still being made and generated decent box office returns. The presence of Asterix on well known French radio programs, television appearances by the creators, and finally the coming of Asterix related merchandise in the market drew us to the conclusion that Asterix has finally become a part of French culture and national sensation.